Okay. See, in the previous class, we just studied about the assumptions of this Maxwell's speed distribution law. Okay, it is. I'm going to draw a coordinate system. A coordinate system. That means this is we call this as a velocity diagram. We call this as a velocity diagram. See, we are considering a particle. We are considering a particle here, right? Where it is a particle means here a molecule. We are taking the gaseous system. Okay, we are dealing with the kinetic theory of gases now. Okay, so here we are considering one particular gas molecule. See, this is the origin. This is the origin. Okay, this is x-axis. This is y-axis, and this is z-axis. Okay, now you consider one molecule located here. See at the point P. Okay, our molecule is located at point P. Now, see, you may take the position vector OP. Okay, OP. Now, let us take the coordinates of x, y, and z axis. See, now you just draw a perpendicular line, okay, onto this xz plane. See, this is actually velocity along x-axis is u. So this distance is u. This distance parallel to y-axis is v. Okay, these are all the perpendiculars on x and y and z axis respectively. Right, now you draw a line parallel to z axis. Okay, since here the length of this line is w, that means your molecule is having components of velocity along x, y, and z axes. What are those components? X component is u, y component is v, z component is z. Okay, that means these are the projections of this OP vector. These are the projections of this OP vector on x, y, z axis respectively. Okay, now we are considering the molecules whose velocities are in the ranges. Whose velocities are in the ranges? u2, u plus du. Okay, I want molecules whose x component is in between u plus u2, u plus du, whose y component is in between v2, v plus dv, and whose z component of velocity is in between w plus dw. Okay, now what is the difference in this upper limit minus lower limit? You take this one, you take this one, and you take this one. What is the difference between upper limit and this lower limit? U plus du minus u is du. Okay, so now we are taking a small cube, okay, enclosing this P point, whose dimensions are du, dv, dw. Okay, whose sides are given by du, dv, dw. Okay, right. Now what is du? The side which is parallel to x-axis. This is a du. Okay, the line which is parallel to y-axis is dv. The line which is parallel to this z-axis is dw. Okay, now we are taking a molecule which is inside a box whose side lengths are du, dv, and dw. du, dv and dw. Okay, now our molecule, we are considering only one molecule which is in this box with length du, okay, breadth dv and height dw. Okay, now our molecule is in this small box. Okay, right. See, there are so many molecules in between u to u plus du, v to v plus dv, and w to w plus dw. But within this du, dv, and dw box, only one molecule is located. At this point, we are considering only one molecule located inside of this box. Okay. Now we are formulating the problem itself. Okay. See, since this is a speed distribution, we call this as a velocity diagram. We call this as a velocity diagram. That means our coordinates of molecules are here velocities. Okay, not the positions but the velocities. Okay. Here along the x-axis you don't have the position coordinate but the velocity coordinate that is u. Along the y-axis you have the velocity coordinate v. Along the z-axis you have the velocity coordinate w. Okay. Now we are considering molecules in between u to u plus du whose velocities are whose velocities in x direction are u to u plus du, whose velocities along y direction are laying in between v2 v plus dv, whose velocities in z direction, but within a small box with the sides du, dv and dw. Okay, we are having only one molecule. We are concentrating on that molecule. Right. Now, what is the probability of the given molecule? Okay. Given molecule have its velocity in between u to u plus du. According to the postulates of, according to the assumptions of this Maxwell's speed distribution law, this probability is given by, or it is a function of, this probability is a function of, see, this u, okay, and du. Probability of finding a particle whose velocities are in between u to u plus du is a function of u and du only. Okay. See, what is the exact relation here? I am writing this as a f of u and du. F of u and f of u into du. This probability of finding a particle whose velocity is in between u and u plus du is given by fu and du. This is actually it is there in our assumptions. Okay. Yeah. Next, similarly, what will be the probability that the y component of velocity of the molecule under consideration is in between v and v2 v plus dv? There also you have to write the similar equation. What is that equation? Here this is for x-axis, okay, or x component of velocity. Next, the probability for y component of velocity will be f of v dv. Next, probability that the molecule under consideration is having its velocity in between w and dw is given by f of w dw. Okay, this is a probability for x-axis. This is a which one? This one. Okay, this probability deals with the x component. This probability deals with the y component. This probability deals with the z component. See, here I already told you that velocity along x-axis is independent of the velocity along y-axis, and velocity along y-axis is independent of the velocity along z-axis. See, these are the three independent incidents. According to the probability theory, which you are already familiar with since from your intermediate. In intermediate, you studied about the probability theory. Huh? Okay. What is the total probability then? These are the partial probabilities which are independent of each other. The total probability that the molecule under consideration is having its x component of velocity in between u and u plus du, and y component of velocity v and v plus du, and z component of velocity is in between w and w plus dw is given by. Now I am writing the total probability here. What will be the total probability when you are given the partial probabilities which are independent of each other? P is equal to px into py into pz. Okay, now I am erasing this diagram. So again I am writing this total probability here. What is the total probability that a molecule selected randomly will have x component of velocity in between u to u plus du, and y component of velocity in between v and v plus dv, and the z component of velocity in between w and w plus dw? See, it is somewhat lengthy. Discussion is going somewhat lengthy. I am using lengthy sentences. See, now total probability P for what? As I just now told to you, P is equal to probability for x axis, x component, probability for the y component, probability for z component. Now here you are having the formulas for the probabilities. This one is the for x component, f u du into fv. Py means here you are having fv dv into, what is the probability that the molecule under consideration is having the velocity in between w and w plus dw? This is f of w dw. Okay. Now I wrote the total probability by using these partial probabilities which are independent of each other. You have to note one thing. This formula applies when px is independent of py and py is independent of pz. Why these probabilities are independent? We are already assumed that in our assumptions, velocity along x-axis is independent of the velocity along y-axis, and similarly the velocity of a particle along the z-axis is also independent of other velocities. That means velocities of the particles along other axes. Okay, Vx is independent of Vy, Vy is independent of Vz. That's why Px is independent of Py, Py is independent of Pz, and Pz is independent of Px. These are all independent. Then only you can write the total probability as a product of partial probability. So what is the expression for the total probability? Now I am rewriting this. Just let us write f's together. F of u, f of v. I am writing first all f's into all d's next, du, dv and dw, du, dv and dw. Okay. Now, okay, let us assume that the resultant velocity of the molecule under consideration is c. C. Okay. The particle which is located at the point P is having velocity c. Okay. Now the probability that the velocity of our molecule lies, okay, in the elemental volume du, dv, dw. Okay, du, dv, dw is now a function of, see, what we are expecting, probability that a molecule having velocity c is in the box du, dv, dw. Okay, here we considered component wise. Now we are considering the total velocity wise. UVW are the components of C. Now we are considering with respect to the total velocity, not the component velocities. Okay, now that is also given by the same probability. Here that probability, okay, is a function of C and du C total velocities. Here we are not having the partial velocities. Here you are taking Fu, Fv, Fw. Na? It is a function of C. Means I am writing this phi c square. It is a function of c square. Function of c means I am writing this as a phi c square into du, dv, dw. Okay, actually this p and this p is same. Okay, we are considering the same molecule. Now we expressed the probability in terms of component velocities. Here we are expressing the total probability with respect to the final only one velocity, resultant velocity of the particle. Okay, c, magnitude of the its velocity, not the components. So from this equation and this equation, this is also p, this is also p. Therefore, equations should be the same. Okay, one is written in terms of components, other probability is written in terms of total velocity itself. This is p. Okay, this is the expression for p. This is also expression for total probability of the particle under consideration. So from the last two equations, we have, since LHS values are same, RHS values should be the same. That means this one is equal to this one, because this one is equal to this one. That is what now I am going to write. Okay, you take some paper, you try to write down these equations. These equations look somewhat lengthy. Here we are having very small whiteboard. On paper it is very convenient to write. Okay, f of u, f of v, this thing I am writing this thing, and f of w into, what is this, into du dv dw. Du dv dw is equal to, I am equating these RHS values because LHS values are same. What is the meaning of that? RHS value should be the same. Next, RHS of the second equation is phi c square du dv dw. Du dv dw. Actually, see here, you may cancel these du, dv, dw, dw values. So what you are going to get now finally here, these functions of partial product of functions of partial velocities of the particle is equal to phi of c square. Why? Because on both sides we cancelled du, dv and dw values. Finally you got this equation. This is phi on the RH, on the, okay, RHS side. We are having phi c square, phi c square, right? D phi c square, differentiation of this fu, fv, fu, fv, fw should equal to differentiation of this phi c square. I am differentiating this equation just. Okay. What is c square? You know that c square is u square plus v square plus w square. Okay. I am differentiating this last equation, this one, where c is equal to this thing and c square is equal to this thing. Okay. Now, this thing should be 0. This is a scalar function. This should be 0. Okay. Why? Because c square is equal to u square plus v square plus w square, all the numbers. So, see here, the RHS should be 0. The RHS should be 0, differentiation of the scalar function. On this side, LHS side, you are having differentiation of FU, FV, FW. How to differentiate this UVW now? No, it is not UV formula, UVW formula. See, each time you have to differentiate only one function and you have to leave as it is other two functions. See, U dash VW, it is something like U dash means F dash U, F of V, F of W, F of F of W plus now I am leaving it as it is Fu. I am differentiating this middle function and I am leaving last function as it is. Next, plus I am leaving first two functions as it is. F of U, F of V, F prime of I am differentiating the third function. This is equal to C. Okay, what is this? This is a differentiation of Fu, Fv, Fw. It is a straightforward application of d by dx of uv. Okay, differentiation uv formula. Here I am using uvw formula. Each time I am differentiating only one function, leaving the other two functions unaffected. Okay, in the first term I differentiated u function, second time I differentiated v function. Okay, here this is not f prime u. Okay, third time I differentiated this w function. You see here, this is equal to 0. See, what is f prime u? Differentiation of fu. What is f prime v? Differentiation of fv. What is f prime w? Differentiation of fw. Differentiation of fw. Okay, right. Now what I am going to do here is I am differentiating this last equation with respect to fu, fv, fw. Okay, differentiate. You write down all these things on the paper. Here all these things are written in a very small board. Okay, differentiating dividing the above equation with fu, fv and fw, dividing with fu, fv, fw. We are dividing this last equation with fu, fv, fw. Okay, then what happens? You see here, we have to divide each term with fu, fv, fw. Then what happens to this first term? If you divide this term by fu, fv, fw, you may cancel fv and fw, and so you are going to get f of u by fu, isn't it? Is it correct? Yeah, again here whenever you are differentiating this first function, here we forgot one thing. We have to write du here in the first term, we have to write dv in the second term, we have to write dw in the third term. Okay, why? Because we are differentiating here w function, so we have to write dw. So here you are getting in addition to this du. Okay, next you take this second term, you have to divide this second term with fu, fv, fw. So all the unprimed terms will be cancelled. That means here this fu and this fw will be cancelled. You are going to get only f of v by fv dv, right? Next, plus, yeah, now you see only the third term. You may forget about these things. You see, you observe this third term. Here you are going to divide this third term with fu, fv, fw. See, all the unprimed functions will be cancelled. So this function may be cancelled, this function may be cancelled. So now you are only left with f prime of w by fw into dw. Okay, is it clear to you? Right. Now we got this equation. Okay, what is this equation? F prime of u, f prime of u by fu du, f prime of v by fv dv, f prime of w by fw dw is equal to 0. Okay, isn't it? Now you leave it, you call this as 1 or something like that. I already told you that what is c square? U square plus v square plus w square. Now you try to differentiate this. Okay, differentiating gives you, on this side this is constant c square, 0. What happens here? What is the differentiation of u square? 2u du. Okay, see, if you are doing differentiation with respect to u, then you need not to write this du, but we are not differentiating with respect to u or v or w. Okay, that's why I am writing here du as we did in the previous case. Okay, just take d on this side, d on that side. Okay, differentiating means d of c square is equal to d of u square plus v square plus w square. Otherwise I will write here one more step, d of c square is equal to d of u square plus v square plus w square. Now c square is constant, so put 0. Now these variables, these u v w components are variables, so here what is the differentiation of u square? 2u du. What is the differentiation of v square? 2v dv. What is the differentiation of w square? 2w dw. 2w dw. So 2u du plus 2v dv plus 2w dw is equal to 0 on this side. Right. Now you just multiply this entire equation with some number, say lambda. In this here there is no need to put 2 only. Okay, on this side you are having 0. That's why you may have the freedom to multiply all these terms with any number. Okay, I am removing this 2. Why? Because on this side you are having 0. I am erasing here. Yeah, now you remove this 2 because on this side you are having 0. You just multiplying entire equation, multiplying with lambda, gives 0 into lambda is 0. You forget about these 2, and lambda u du, next lambda v dv plus lambda w dw. Okay, you may omit these 2. Instead of 2 I am writing lambda. Lambda may be any number. Okay, right? Is it okay? Now you call this as the second equation. You call this as the second equation. Now you observe first and second equations. Now I am erasing these things which are at the bottom. Now you are having two equations. Both are having 0 on one side. Na? So I want to add these two equations, adding 1 and 2. Add them up. Adding equation 1 and equation 2. How to add this? On one side you are having 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. On the other side what you are going to get? On one side you are going to get 0. Remaining side you have to add this first term with first term, second term with second term, and third term with third term. Then what you are going to get? Here I am writing, see, f prime of u by f of u. Okay, see, here also you are having du dv dw, here also you are having du dv dw, so you may take common, plus next I am writing this lambda u. Okay, du terms, adding du terms. Outside I am writing du as a common term. Okay. Next, what about other two terms? See, I am erasing these two equations. Okay. You have to remember them. You have to get the, you are going to get the similar terms now. Okay. Now you need not to remember this. Here I am not having the space. Okay. Remember those terms. I am adding those two equations. Now you are going to get the similar terms. Okay. You need not to look at those 1 and 2 equations. First term is over now. Plus, what will be the second term? You guess from this? F prime of v by fv, okay, plus lambda v into dv, plus what will be the third term? F of w by fw lambda w dw. This is equal to, on one side you are having 0. So you got one equation. See, this term plus this term plus this term is equal to 0. That means when it is possible, see, v is not depending on u, u is not depending on v, w is not depending on v. These are all the independent terms. So, in order to make, okay, this sum 0, each term should be 0. I think you understood my argument. Why? Because first term is a function of u, second term is a function of v, third term is a function of w. u, v, w are independent. So, in order to make the sum of these functions 0, each term should be 0. Each term should be 0. Okay. Here these things are looking somewhat lengthy. Yeah. Now each term should be 0. See, this term should be 0. Okay. This term, second term 0, third term 0, first term what is that? Is that also should be 0. F prime of u by f of u plus lambda u first term du. This is equal to 0. See, now we got three equations. Okay, first one. Okay, if you already started giving numbers, then say two, I think two equations are over. Say these are 3, this is 4, this is fifth equation. Okay, 3 4 5, 3 4 5. Now you just consider first one equation, because all are similar, na? If you get some result for first equation, all those results are applicable for 2 and 3, but with the change in a variable. Now I am considering only one equation, first one. Okay, the first means here third equation. Okay, you erase rest of the equations. Whenever you want, you may simply write those equations by seeing this equation. Just there will be a change in the variable. Yeah, now I am considering only this first equation. What is that first equation? F prime of u by f of u into du is there. Now I am multiplying this du with each and every term. Okay, du. I am taking one term on the other side. Then you get minus of lambda u du. Okay, I think you understood this. I am rewriting this third equation by multiplying du with each term. Okay, now, yeah, here what you have to do, here you want to solve for u now. You want to solve for u. Okay, now so you integrate this. Now I am erasing this main equation. Only I am keeping lost equation. Okay, I think we are okay, almost running out of time. Okay, let us continue until then. Right, differentiating, integrating on both sides. Du is equal to, on this side also you have to integrate lambda constant u du. Okay, now it is not the exact integration, that means I am not writing in definite, it is not the definite integration. So After integration, you have to put some integral constant. Okay, I think you understood. What is the this is a general formula in integrals. F of f prime of x by fx dx is equal to, what is the formula? What is the integral of this function? Simply it is log foot e f u, log of fx formula. It is log of fx. If it is f prime x by fx, then the integration of that f prime x by fx should be log fx. So I am using log fu on this side. On this side, minus lambda. What is the integration of u? Come on, tell me. What is the integration of x? Integral x dx. Anyone? Okay, anyone from the class? U square by 2 plus, I already told you that this is not the definite integration, so you have to write the integral constant. See here, that is any constant, that may be any constant, but conveniently I am writing this constant as log base e a. A is a constant. Why? Because on this side we are having logarithmic terms. That's why I am writing the integral constant as log a. No problem. A is a constant. Okay, now I am erasing the previous terms. Okay, now we have to rewrite this. You bring the log terms together. Then what happens? Log e fu, I am bringing this log term to this side, minus of, on this side it is plus, log e a, good, something you are writing, okay, a, right, is equal to, on this side you are having only lambda u square by 2, isn't it? I am just rewriting the equation. Okay, now I am erasing this equation. Yeah, what is you simplify the RHS by using the formula log m minus n. What is its value? Log m minus n means log. What is the LHS value? Log base e. M by n means fu by a. This is m, this is n. Log m minus log n is log m by n. On this side what you are having? Minus lambda u square by 2. Okay. Lambda u square by 2. Now what is the, come on, tell me, what is the value of fu by a? Here I am using another formula. Then what is this? Log x is equal to some b is there. Then x is equal to e power. I think you know this formula as well, isn't it? Yeah, this fu by a is equal to now e power. Why? Because this is e based logarithm. E power this RHS. Yeah, you check the formulas in the logarithms. Okay. Suppose, okay, here fu by a, here I am using another formula from logarithms. This fu by a is e power this RHS, isn't it? E power this RHS. Now what is your fu? Now you got fu, that you have to note. You are finding fu. You take this a to this side, a into e power. You remember this result we are going to use in the next class. Yeah, what now finally you got fu value. Fu is some constant into e power minus lambda u square by 2. Similarly you guess fv, fw. Similarly you guess fv and fw.